Welcome back to Talk Travel with Samantha, powered by Fabulous Adventures Travel. Your weekly passport to unfiltered travel talk, destination obsessions, and the kind of honest advice that usually requires at least 2 cocktails to get out of a travel advisor. I'm your host, Samantha, and today we are headed across the pond to the Cotswolds. Now, close your eyes for a second. If I say the Cotswolds, what do you see? Do you even know where it is? By the way, if you don't know where it is, it's in England, not too far from London. It's about a 2-hour drive-ish from London, depending on where you go. But close your eyes, and what do you see? You see golden stone cottages, ivy creeping up the walls, beautiful wildflowers everywhere, pristine little streams, and about 400 tourists holding selfie sticks blocking the view of Arlington Row and Bibury. Listen, I love a good postcard moment as much as the next girl, but let's be real. When a destination gets that popular, the magic can get a little swallowed up by the tour buses. If you're looking for that authentic sleepy time capsule version of old England, the kind where you can actually hear the birds chirping, and trust me, you do hear those birds chirping, or the fact that you can sit in the pub and hang out with Harry and totally get to know the guy that lives in the town that hasn't changed since the town that hasn't changed 1700s, you have to look past the Google results. So today we're going to go off the beaten path, and I'm going to give you a couple of places that still feel like old England. But I'm also going to tell you about the places that, of course, you should go and that are going to be a little touristy because you shouldn't miss them. So grab a cup of tea or a gin and tonic. Hey, no judgment here, and let's dive in. So let's take our first look and head away from the crowds. Our first stop is a place that feels like a tourist destination, but more like a period drama set. It's Stanton. If you want a village that looks like it was frozen in amber, skip Bourton-on-the-Water and head to Stanton. We're going to talk about Bourton-on-the-Water. I'm going to be completely honest. You can't miss Bourton-on-the-Water because it's just, it's just amazing. Bourton-on-the-Water is phenomenal. So listen, we're going to talk about it. It's almost entirely, so Stanton is almost entirely built from that iconic honey-colored Cotswold stone, but there are virtually no commercial shops. So it's just pure uninterrupted history. Walk up the main street to the mountain at the top of the hill, grab a pint, and then look out over the Vale of Evesham. It is stunning. So I want to stop for a second and say that a lot of the towns here are not tourist. I don't want to use the word tourist friendly. That's probably terrible to say, but they're not tourist friendly in the sense that like they weren't built for all these people to come and just hang out and chill in. They're actual towns people live in. Like people live in these towns. So it's kind of funny because when you go to Bibury, you go there to see the Arlington Row houses, and there are people everywhere, right? And it says there's signs that say keep off the grass. Well, these people live in these houses, but they're just so gorgeous. Everyone wants to take a picture of them. And there's tons of people out there. I can't imagine living in the house and having someone just out there taking a picture of it. It's kind of crazy. And year round, we're not just talking about at Christmas when you put up a good Christmas lights, display. We're talking about year round. There are people coming to your house. Now, I know that they know this, but also I'm sure that Google, Instagram, all of that stuff has probably made it much bigger than it used to be. And I wonder what the time frame has blown up on it, because there are a lot of little towns that are still super, super little that you can barely get into. I mean, it's crazy. You can barely get into these towns. They're tiny, tiny roadways. Like it's definitely interesting. So I will say that the next one I want to talk about is Snowshill. So Snowshill is tiny. You take this tiny street into it. It's it seems like a 1-lane street. It really is they call it a single lane street. So it is a single lane street, but it's still has to go both ways, basically. So it is hard to get in and out of Snowshill. The driving that I had to do in Snowshill was definitely interesting. And we'll talk about driving in a little bit. But Snowshill is just down the road from Stanton. It's not far. It sits tucked away on top of the escarpment. It's famous for Snowshill Manor. The Snowshill Manor is absolutely beautiful, which houses one of the most eccentric collection of everything you've ever seen, collected by a man named Charles Wade. but the village itself is tiny. So if you think you're walking the village and going to the shops and doing all the, eating at the pubs and I don't know what else you're going to do, visit the coffee shop or visit the chocolate shop, that's not happening in these towns. Not in Snowshill, definitely. Snowshill had just a little market that was outside, this little tiny market that was covered, and that's really what was it. We ate actually at the pub there, and the food was phenomenal. And they actually had like a beer garden back outside and everything, and the parking was great. So it was really nice, I will say. But Snowshill, you blink, it's gone, done. You've missed it, you're through it, you didn't see it, but it's absolutely beautiful. And this is where you want to go and stay if you're looking for that authentic feel where you're living in the English countryside. So I will say that my dream was to come here or come to the Cotswolds and stay for like 2 weeks and just live in the English countryside. And we rented 2 different houses. One was in Blockley, which we'll talk about, and the other one was in Stow-on-the-Wold. Stow-on-the-Wold is actually, I call it city life living, which, by the way, if you're used to city, all of us here in Orlando, this is not anything like city life living, but it is compared to Blockley, compared to Snowshill, compared to Stanton, compared to all these other places. Stow-on-the-Wold is so much bigger. So is Bourton. Bourton-on-the-Water is so much bigger than all these little towns. So anywho, Snowshill is absolutely darling. The houses are just a dream. Right outside of Snowshill, that is really, really cool to see, as well as lavender fields. So they have this really cool stop where you can go and see, lavender fields for miles and rolling hills of lavender. So it looks really cool. Just these purple farms of lavender, which is really, 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 really super neat. So when you go to Snowshill, go eat at the pub right there. It's the only one. And then make sure that you see the lavender fields, because they're right outside. But getting to the lavender fields from the pub, oh boy, that is not for the faint of heart, because the roads, like I said, are single lane. And you're pulling over into the bushes to let people go by, and then they're pulling over into the bushes to let you go by, and then there's corners that you can't see. It's, and of course it's driving on the wrong side of the road. So there's all those things that, make it a little bit nerve-wracking by the time you're done. And there is definitely, it's just nerve-wracking because it's on the other side. So I'm probably going to say this one wrong, but Naunton is tucked away. This is another one. So it's Naunton, tucked away in a valley shaped by the river Windrush. So Naunton completely bypasses the main tourist tracks. It has a magnificent 15th century church, the Black Horse Inn, and one you're more likely to rub elbows with local farmers than fellow tourists. So this is another one where it's tiny. So see, we've talked about, 3 places, and I'm telling you that no tourist buses in sights on those ones that I just told you, because again, way too small, because the streets are tiny, and I could barely drive down it in a, large SUV. I was like panicking. There's no way a tour bus is getting down there. So I want to mention that if any of this sounds amazing to you and it's something that you want to do, but you're kind of like, I don't know what to do, Fabulous Adventures is here to help you. We would love to help you plan this vacation. Please make sure to contact us at www.talktravelwithsamantha.com, and we will help get you to the Cotswolds. Now let's talk more about the Cotswolds. Today we're exploring the Cotswolds beyond postcards, tracking down the corners of the Southwest England that still feel authentically old school. So let's keep moving north to a place that used to be a major player in the medieval wool trade, but somehow got left off the modern frantic tourist route. Thank God. Chipping Campden. So the quieter corners. Now, Chipping Campden itself is known, but people often just drive through the high street. The real magic of Old England is found where you park the car and explore the Elms houses, built in 1612, or walk down to the market hall. If you go early in the morning when the mist is still rising off the stone floors, it feels incredibly atmospheric. So the other town that I want to talk to you about is Blockley. That is one of the places that we rented. This little town used to be a bustling center for silk industry. It's powered by the local brooks. Today, these old mills are stunning private homes, and we rented one of the old mills. The actual house is named the Mill. So the cool thing about the Cotswolds is that they actually name all of their houses. So every house has a name, and it's usually some, I probably couldn't even come up with the Fleece House. That's another one that we stayed in. The Fleece House, the Mill House, the this and that house. Like they name them, which I think is so cool. Sunnyside. So I think it's really neat that they name the houses. So the house that we stayed in Blockley was called the Mill, and it was part of an old mill. This house was stunning. It had all the old features of wood and wood that lined the top of, the ceilings, and the exposed brick and the exposed stone, I should say, not brick, but stone. And it had a wood fireplace, and oh my goodness, it was 3 floors. It was just lovely. And one of the windows, the French doors, opened up to where the stream was for the water for one of the mill. And the sound was just lovely with the birds and everything that was happening. Oh my goodness, it was heavenly. And then there was also a backyard that had 2 levels and just overlooked the whole town. It was just absolutely lovely. So I highly suggest Blockley. And here's the reason why. It's tiny. There are no buses there. There was a place called the Western Arms. That was the pub that was right up the hill from us. So we would walk up there for dinner. We'd walk up there and have a drink. It was just lovely. There was also a lot of walking trails, especially. So when you go to these smaller towns, there's a lot of they call it a footpath. So there's a lot of footpaths that are out there that you can walk and just go on these hiking trails. And actually in the house that we rented, had a walking stick, which I thought was really, really cool because that was there for you. We never used it. We just kind of went on walks, and it was glorious anyways. But I would say that I haven't done as much walking as I've wanted to. I'm actually kind of sad about that part of it because we missed it. We didn't stay in Blockley very long. We were only there 4 nights, which I think I wish we would have stayed longer because that was a traditional house. The house that we stayed in after that is a little bit more modern. It's in stone in the wall, which I mentioned, and it's right in town, in the city, as I said, because Blockley is definitely not in the city, but it was so super cute. And they also had the old red telephone booth there in Blockley that they turned into a book, exchange. Blockley was amazing. So back to explanation of it, my apologies. So Blockley has a bit of dramatic hillside layout, which is 100% true. It was very hilly, which keeps the big tour buses out because they physically can't navigate the turns. It's peaceful, historic, and beautifully untamed. It's absolutely unreal, Blockley. It's just unbelievable. I also want to mention Painswick, which is known as the Queen of Cotswold. So Painswick is built of a lighter silvery gray stone rather than the deep honey color. And it's famous for its churchyard, which contains 99 yew trees. And the legend says the devil won't let 100th tree grow. So I think that's a cute little story. And the narrow winding lanes here feel incredibly grand, yet totally peaceful. So it's just darling. So this next town made the list for not so touristy. However, it was super, super busy when I was there, and it was very hard to find a parking space. There are no major parking areas to go to park your car. So know that. So the Slaughters. Now, people love Lower Slaughter because of the old mill, which is absolutely beautiful. Took pictures of it on the streams. My daughter and my mother horseback rode through the stream. I wasn't able to horseback ride because unfortunately I have frozen shoulder. Let's not go there. So I was very sad of the fact that I didn't get to horseback, but you can horseback ride. They'll take you through Lower Slaughter, and it's really, really cool, and back. So if horseback riding is your thing, I highly suggest it. But if you want to escape the crowds, just walk up the river path to Upper Slaughter. It's much quieter, completely bypassed by the main roads. It has an atmosphere of absolute undisturbed tranquility. It hasn't seen any new building work since the 1900s. So it's super, super old. So what I want to say is that we had English tea at the Slaughter Manor House, and that hotel is unbelievable. It's just gorgeous, and the tea was just wonderful. They did an absolutely fabulous job having traditional English afternoon tea. So I do highly suggest that. And the Slaughters are just, the name is definitely interesting, but the town is just darling, and it's super, super close to Bourton-on-the-Water. So you could technically do both at the same time. So while we're over there, I do want to mention Bourton-on-the-Water since it's right there. Bourton-on-the-Water is actually super popular. You're going to find a ton of tourist buses there, but that doesn't mean don't go. I know I always tell you guys, you know, stick to off the beaten path. Bourton is one of those places that you should make sure that you dodge, who cares about the crowd, just go, because it's just beautiful. I've actually been a couple times. So the first time that I came through the Cotswolds, I stayed at a place called the Hare and the Hound, which is an absolutely gorgeous hotel, and I highly suggest it, but it is off the beaten path in terms of it's not in a city. It's kind of out there. It's a little bit more south. It's like right when the Cotswolds start. So we had come up from Bath and we had stayed at the Hare and the Hound. So you definitely could stay there because it's just beautiful. And I highly suggest that place. It's absolutely magnificent, but it is kind of far from a lot of the things. It's not very central. Now, the Cotswolds are very large. It takes a while to get, from either side, and there's all kinds of places. So if you're thinking that the Cotswolds just one section of just a bunch of little towns, it kind of is, but it's a very big section of a bunch of little towns, and they're very spread out because it's the country, right? So, in between towns, it can be 20 minutes. So if you're going from one town to the next town, to the next town, to the next town, you're going pretty far sometimes, and it could be a while. So make sure that you know that where you're staying, you want to be close to the things that you want to see. So back to Bourton-on-the-Water. Bourton-on-the-Water is just wonderful. It's very heavily populated in terms of there's a lot of people that live there as well as people that visit. It's on a very beautiful stream, which is why, of course, they call it on the water. And there's just some lovely, lovely places. We had a lovely lunch there this year. And we have also had the Bourton-on-the-Water Bakery, which is amazing. The Duke of Wellington bar that's there is one of the favorites. So there's so much stuff that's there that you can enjoy. There's a lot of shopping. There's also the mini model village. So you can go through and see a model of Bourton-on-the-Water, and it's a perfect replica of the model. When you're walking through it, you're like, wait, this literally is it, but just tiny. And then they have a model of the model and a model of the model, which is super cute. You do have to pay money for that, just so you know, but definitely super fun anyways. The other thing they have there is a motor museum. So that's actually really cool if you want to do that as well. So I know I mentioned Bibury, which I want to mention it again because it is another really cute village and it's very quick to stop and see, but most people just stop to see the Arlington Row. So it's just beautiful. So the highlight is obviously Arlington Row, built in the late 14th century as a wool store and later converted into weavers' cottages in the 17th century. These steeply pitched roofs are so iconic. They are actually featured on the inside of the official British passport. So super cool to actually go see that, to see what's featured on the inside of the official British passport, which I thought was really cool to see. And honestly, it was super cool to see just in itself and just see it live. But I will say that it made me think of a lot of Harry Potter. If you'd seen Harry Potter, it's one of the things I was like, oh my goodness, this reminds me a lot. I mean, listen, every time you walk somewhere, of course, it reminds you of Harry Potter, but this really did for some crazy reason it did. So I want to touch on the hiking again just for one moment because I did mention it. For active travelers out there, the Cotswolds isn't just about driving from tea room to tea room, right? If you love hiking, you need to check out the Cotswold Way. So it's super, super cool because it's a 102-mile national trail that runs all the way from Chipping, Campden, down to the historic city of Bath. So it's 102 miles. You don't have to do the whole thing, of course. No, you can stop and and go between cities. But working just a 3-mile stretch between villages gives you panoramic views of rolling hills, ancient woodlands, and grazing sheep that define this landscape. So a lot of people do little bits and pieces of it. And I actually did get to do a little bit and piece of it when we were walking between Bourton-on-the-Water and Slaughterhouse and all that. So make sure that you check that out when you're here, just to say that you did it, because it's actually really, really cool to just be a part and just see that little, just be able to say that you did that. And you, like I said, you don't have to do 102 miles of it. You can do pieces of it. So now if all this exploring and hiking is making you hungry, if you think English food is still stuck in the reputation of 1970s, the Cotswolds will completely change your mind. This place has some really great food. So first you want to talk about the afternoon cream tea. Let's talk about eating a Cotswold scone. So I think that there's a great debate out there, and I always giggle about it. How to eat a Cotswold scone from afternoon tea. So of course there's warm scones, right? Freshly baked. Then you've got your clotted cream and the strawberry jam. So I like it with jam first and then cream. I think it tastes the best that way. But there is a debate out there if you like it with cream first and then jam. So let me know which way that you like it, because it's super funny to hear everyone's different way. But I guess apparently, according to all of my friends, that there is a Devon style where you do the cream first and a Cornwall style where you do the jam first. So there's definitely a distinction of where you come from is how you put the stuff on your scone. But for me, just put it in your mouth. That's how good it is. So if you want an unforgettable tea experience, you can visit Hufkins. There's a couple of them. There's actually one at Stow-on-the-Wold, and there's one in Burford. They've been baking since 1890, and their cakes and warm scones are legendary. So the other place that was really cool that I got to visit, especially since it was here at Stow-on-the-Wold, was the Porch House. So this is officially certified as the oldest inn in England, dating back to 947 AD. So think about that for a second. People have been having a drink in that exact spot for over 1,000 years. That's nuts. Which is so cool because I did get to eat there. The food was really great. It was awesome there. So definitely check it out. The other place that people talk about is the Wild Rabbit. It's in Kingham. It's just gorgeous, by the way. So if you want something a bit more modern and upscale, this is a Michelin recommended gastropub. It's sources entirely organic, locally produced ingredients from the nearby Dalesford Organic Farm, which is one of the places I'm just about to mention as well. So don't miss Dalesford Organic Farm. So Dalesford is another town in Cotswolds, and Dalesford Organic Farm is a place where you can get, it's almost like I don't want to call it a large grocery store because it's not. So it's like a farm store. And then they also have places that you can eat there. So sit down and eat and have a meal because, oh, it's so good. They have fresh meat. I know that sounds funny when I say that, but literally, of course, it is a farm. So the meat came straight from the farm to your table. So I guess it could be like farm to table. But definitely 100% check out Dalesford Organic Farm. It was so stinking good and the food was amazing. And we took a bunch of it home to bring back to the cottage that we're renting. So as we wrap up our journey today, let me leave you with a few quick practical tips for planning your own trip to Cotswolds. Of course, Fabulous Adventures Travel would love to help get you here, so please contact us so we can help you. But how to get around? Well, you can take a train from London, and I will tell you that the locals, every time we say that, you know, they obviously, well, they know by the accent that we're not from here, they would say, "Did you take a train?" And we're like, "No, we drove." They're like, "Oh, you drove?" Yep, we drove. So you can take a train into Moreton-on-the-Marsh or Cheltenham to truly explore the smaller villages. Renting a car is best because you're not getting around once you get here, right? So just remember to drive on the left, of course, and be prepared, like I mentioned, for the narrow single-track country lanes. And some of them are very, very dirt. And they're dirt roads with huge potholes, and they're single lanes, and the car barely fits. Oh, you can understand that I was just panicked down these roads. So I do want to talk about when to visit. In the summer, it's stifling. There is no aircon anywhere here. So the weather was great in the beginning, and then the hot wave hit. Oh, Madon, it was so hot. So make sure that you come in spring. May is a great time. Of course, remember I've mentioned before about shoulder season. You want to be aware of shoulder season because that helps with the timing of lots of tourists, the money and how much it costs to stay here, and of course that weather. So spring and May is a great time. Autumn, of course, because it's going to be beautiful with all the leaves turning colors. I can't even imagine what it looks like here in the autumn. I can't even imagine. But there is no aircon in the summer, and it is very hot. So know that. And there's no aircon. So think of it this way, like when you're like, oh, I may not have any in my cottage, but I'll just go to the local pub and hang out with them. Nope, they don't have any either. Because, you know, the pub is built from 974, so AD. So yeah, they don't have air conditioning. So go on the shoulder seasons of summer, miss the massive summer crowds. my other advice for you is don't try to see 10 villages in one day. We made it so that we did a couple things here and there. We'd go visit one village and really enjoy it. Like Broadway. I know I didn't mention Broadway, but Broadway, was darling. So just go and visit one village a day or two if they're near each other, that kind of thing. But you can also take mini trips like to Bath. Bath is not too far. So if you didn't go to Bath, you can go to Bath from there. So you can do a bunch of things, but sit on the bench, watch the ducks, just enjoy it. I talk to the locals. Oh, they're so sweet. The locals are so nice here. They're super nice. They're very helpful and they love having a conversation. So the magic of Cotswolds isn't about checking things off the list. It's about adapting a slower, gentler pace of life. So that's all for today's episode of Talk Travel with Samantha. Please let me know if you enjoyed the episode, if you've been to the Cotswolds, how you take your scone. Let me know all the things, and I can't wait to hear. You can find me at www.talktravelwithsamantha.com. If you are looking to go to the Cotswolds, please contact Fabulous Adventures Travel. You can find us at talktravelwithsamantha.com, or you can contact us at fabulousadventurestravel.com. Happy to help. So thank you for exploring with me. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a message. I love to hear about it. Until next time, I'm Samantha with Fabulous Adventures Travel. Travel smarter, vacation harder, and we'll see you next show.